Hi, welcome back to Grains in Small Places. I'm Kara, and if this is your first time, welcome. Today I'm going to be making a sweet, yeasty dinner rolls, and they're whole wheat because I'm making them with fresh milled flour. So come along as I show you what to do. So to get started, I'm going to mill the flour. I weighed out 420 grams. And that gives me about 2 1/4 cups of hard white wheat berries. And I'm going to mill that, and it should give me about 3 1/2 cups of flour. I'm going to warm up about 1 cup of water in the microwave and put that in. You could use milk as well, but I was actually out of it today. And 4 tablespoons of softened butter. And I'm going to just kind of broke that apart in there. And since the water is warm, it helps to start to melt them even more. I'm having a little trouble here. And these are going to make a nice, sweet, kind of yeasty roll. I'll tell you a trick later on how to make the yeast flavor stronger if you prefer that flavor like I do. And then 1/3 cup of brown sugar. And I'm going to crack 2 eggs. I'm going to mix all of these liquid ingredients until they're combined. It's nice to have the eggs be a little bit room temperature so it doesn't shock the warm liquid with cold eggs. So I like to set those out as I'm preparing to make the recipe. I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to mix all the liquids to combine them kind of into one. And then I'm going to go ahead and add in the flour that we milled earlier. Just dump it all in here. You can reserve some if you wish. I just know the recipes where I'm at work pretty well. It may vary for you. Depending on humidity and all of that, you may need a slightly different amount of flour. I'm going to go ahead and put a link to this recipe down in the description box below. That way you can print that off if you're interested in making these. And I do recommend that you make these after you don't see any more dry flour. I like to just cover this and let it sit for about 10 to 15 minutes so that the fresh milled flour can start absorbing the liquids. Okay, and now that it's sat, I'm just going to go ahead and add 2 1/2 teaspoons of yeast. And I use the instant yeast, that way I don't have to proof it or anything, and it helps rise it pretty quickly. And I'm going to start kneading that in. Well, I'm going to mix it in, and then I'm going to start kneading that in. I'm actually making this dough for a Make Bread 365 challenge. It's a challenge over on Instagram if you've seen that yet. I don't have an Instagram account right now, so I'm just going to be doing it on YouTube. Hopefully you'll follow along where I'm going to make a new recipe every month. So don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. That way you'll know when I put a new bread recipe out for this challenge. And I need that until I get a positive window pane test. So this is nice and stretchy. It doesn't break when I pull it apart, and it's ready to go. So I'm going to just spray it with some oil and cover it. And this is going to sit at room temperature for about 1 to 2 hours or until the dough has doubled. And I just wanted to show you this week we were boondocking in Quartzsite, Arizona. So this was our lovely space here. We got to see the mountains and the moon and just beautiful sunrises and sunsets. I may have missed some of those sunrises because I'm not a morning person, as you know. But it was just really pretty. Okay, and after the dough has doubled, I'm going to just put a little bit of olive oil on my work surface here. I like to use olive oil instead of flour because flour tends to just dry out my dough. I like a higher hydration dough. If you haven't noticed from some of my other recipes, I just feel like it gives a more light and airy taste, and that's how I like my bread and my rolls, and same with my family. So I'm just going to take that out of the bowl, and I'm going to put it into a little ball here and divide it up into about 12 pieces. I find this is the perfect size roll for my family. You, of course, can decide on a different size of roll and divide it in a different amount if you prefer. But I try the best I can to make them equal. Of course, you could weigh these dough balls. A little trick for weighing them is to put a little piece of saran wrap on your scale and zero it out, and then you can put the dough on there without having to worry about getting sticky dough or anything like that on your scale. So I just wanted to throw that out there. And I have my 9x13 baking dish here. This is probably slightly smaller than an actual 9x13 pan because it came with my oven, but I really think it turns out perfectly for rolls and cinnamon rolls. I'm going to line it with some parchment paper, and then I'm going to start shaping the rolls. And as you can see, I like to push the dough ball in between my thumb and forefinger and using my opposite hand, I will push the dough up in there, making the outer surface tight. There are many different ways to shape rolls. This just tends to be the one that I prefer. You definitely want surface tension here. That will help give you a nice smooth roll. I'm going to put these about 3 wide and 4 long. That way I get 12 rolls, and as they rise, if they start touching, that's even better. I'm going to place them just slightly close together. If I had a bigger pan, I might even divide these up into 15. That way I would have like 3 by 5 and an actual 9 by 13, and the rolls would be slightly smaller, but they would all rise and kind of touch. And they just kind of help each other rise up rather than out. And if you want to check out my blog where I have this recipe and all my other recipes, I'm adding recipes every week. Head over to grainsinsmallplaces.net. I will link that below as well. And you can also sign up to be a Grainy fan. And that way you'll get an email from me from all of my new blog posts and recipes. I don't like spam either, so I'm not going to email you every day. I usually try to do it about once a week or once every 2 weeks. And I'll just send out the most recent blog posts. You also could head over to my Facebook page of Grains in Small Places. And if you just go over there and like it, I try to post all my videos, all of my blog posts with my new recipes all up in there, so you'll have all of the information there as well. All right, and now for that yeast trick. If you want your rolls to taste a little more on the yeasty side, instead of having to add a whole bunch of other things to the dough, what I like to do is take it at this stage after I've shaped them and cover them and put them in the refrigerator, and then pull them out the next day. And when I pull them out the next day, I let them sit on the counter for about 1 to 2 hours until they are room temperature. And then I will go ahead and bake them the same way. And as the rolls sit in the refrigerator overnight, they just develop a stronger, yeastier flavor. So if you like that yeasty flavor, make these the day before. If you don't, go ahead and make and bake them the same day. Cover these and let them rise for about 40 minutes until they look puffy. And these are going to bake at 350 degrees for 20 minutes. And then we're going to go ahead and bake them. And then I like to use a stick of butter, or you could brush melted butter on the top. But I like to put butter on the top, and it gives them this little shimmery shine, and they're just ready to eat nice and warm from the oven. And you can see how soft they are. And here's the texture of the inside. Yum. So we had some hungry family members here, so this is about all I have left of this for dinner. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like. And don't forget to check out my blog at grainsinsmallplaces.net, where you can find all of these recipes and more. And every week I'm continuing to add videos and recipes, and most of them are with all fresh milled flours. Don't forget to subscribe, and that way you'll know what content I'm putting out next. Thank you so much for stopping by Grains in Small Places. Goodbye.